Discovery Channel is confirming that Mythbusters host Grant Imahara has died from a brain aneurysm.
What if one of the greatest minds behind Hollywood's biggest blockbusters, a beloved TV icon and a real-life robot builder, disappeared overnight, without warning? Grant Imahara inspired millions with his brilliance, heart, and imagination. But few know the full story behind his sudden death, the life he led in private, and the legacy still shaping young inventors today.
Hello, my name is Grant Imahara, and it is 11:03 on Thursday, April 1st.
Grant Imahara was born on October 23, 1970, in Los Angeles, California, into a Japanese-American family. His middle name, Masaru, means victory in Japanese, which feels fitting given the drive he demonstrated from an early age. He was raised by his mother, Carolyn Imahara, a single parent who worked long hours at an accounting firm and even studied business in the evenings. Despite tough circumstances, Carolyn made a conscious choice to keep Grant in Los Angeles, believing the city offered better schooling opportunities for him than if they had moved elsewhere. Grant's upbringing was far from ordinary. Instead of toys, his mother bought him science kits, including one from Radio Shack that sparked a lasting fascination. By the age of 5, he began dismantling electronics, toys, appliances, anything he could get his hands on. In one unforgettable year alone, he disassembled 38 different household devices. Remarkably, he could remember the placement of every screw and wire without writing a thing down. His talent was already turning heads in kindergarten. When he dismantled a newly gifted microwave and discovered a defect, his mother reported it to the company, which resulted in the recall of over 1,200 units. That incident was a sign of how sharp his mind was, even at a very young age. There were risks too. At around 6 years old, while experimenting with a radio, Grant accidentally shocked himself so severely that his heart stopped momentarily. He didn't tell his mother. He feared she'd confiscate his precious tools. That incident reinforced both his physical fragility and emotional determination. One event altered the trajectory of his life. On May 28, 1977, when he was 7, he saw the original Star Wars film in a cinema. He sat almost motionless for the entire 2-hour feature, mesmerized by the world he saw on screen. Afterwards, he only spoke in robot-style beeps and skipped school for 17 days. So intense was the impact. That summer, he began scavenging scrap electronics from dumpsters and started building his own version of R2-D2. By August, he had amassed over 600 parts and created detailed drawings. He read college-level electronics manuals under a blanket at night, using a torch, barely sleeping. One of his bold teenage moves was rewiring the public address system at his school so it played the Star Wars theme. It worked noticeably better than before, but he was suspended for the stunt. That didn't deter him. If anything, it validated his capacity to improve systems through engineering creativity. Grant entered Crestview Preparatory School in 1984 at age 14 on a full scholarship. He had already built numerous robots by that point. During one class, he corrected the physics teacher, and by his second year, he built an autonomous robot called Murphy, using parts from gaming consoles and a Commodore 64. Murphy could navigate the school corridors by itself, a rare achievement in the mid-1980s. However, the physical toll was significant. He burned his fingers soldering components, and by 16 had early signs of carpal tunnel syndrome. He spent up to 90 minutes a day hidden away in a science cupboard, building robotics instead of attending physical education. A teacher quietly allowed him to skip PE in order to focus on his passion. By the time he graduated from Crestview, he had built 13 significant robots. Most classmates struggled with geometry. Grant was already deeply immersed in advanced technical design. After high school, he enrolled at the University of Southern California's School of Engineering in the late 1980s, with the intention of becoming an electrical engineer. At USC, he encountered a period of burnout. In his second or third year, he considered leaving engineering to pursue screenwriting. He adored storytelling and film and even approached the cinematic arts faculty to inquire about transferring. That turned out to be difficult, and discouraged, he considered dropping out entirely. Thankfully, a guidance counselor referred him to Tomlinson Holman, the inventor of the THX sound system and an audio engineering professor at the film school. Grant offered to work as Holman's unpaid assistant, tidying a cluttered office filled with professional organization papers and eventually helping characterize audio equipment like headphone models. That experience rekindled his enthusiasm by showing how engineering and creativity could intersect. Inspired anew, he returned full-time to his engineering studies and graduated in 1993 with a Bachelor of Science in Electrical Engineering. During his time at USC, he had also become a member of IIE Pro and related professional societies. Upon graduation, he was hired immediately by Lucasfilm's THX division as a licensing engineer, responsible for stress testing audio gear to meet exacting standards. He would even put on a C-3PO suit at promotional events for Lucasfilm branding, marking the first intersection between his technical and entertainment worlds. He spent 3 years working at THX before being recruited to the model shop of Industrial Light and Magic in 1996. There, over 9 years, he worked on effects for major films: Star Wars Episodes 1, 2 and 3, The Lost World, Jurassic Park, The Matrix sequels, AI Artificial Intelligence, and more. His responsibility focused on designing circuits, lighting systems, motors, and electronics that made props move and glow. He was even credited as chief model maker on Galaxy Quest and designed the circuitry for dramatic lighting effects on the Starship engines. This early part of Grant Imahara's story demonstrates a unique blend of relentless curiosity, self-directed study, and creative engineering. From dismantling a dozen household appliances before primary school to almost leaving USC in pursuit of writing, it was always a guiding force that led him back to engineering as a creative discipline. His childhood inspired him, Star Wars catalyzed his imagination, and his teenage defiance showed he was never content with the status quo. His early education, both formal and improvised, equipped him with the discipline to combine technical precision with surprising flair, a combination that would shape both his career and his legacy. Grant Imahara began his professional engineering career at Lucasfilm in 1993 after graduating from the University of Southern California with a degree in electrical engineering. He joined the THX division at Skywalker Ranch, where he worked as a licensing engineer testing audio equipment to certify that it met the rigorous THX standard. He evaluated everything, from loudspeaker stress handling to frequency response and consistency, ensuring that the cinematic sound experience was the same from one theater to another. His attention to detail served him well in this role, and every piece of gear he tested needed to perform flawlessly. After 3 years at THX, in 1996, he shifted to Industrial Light and Magic, Lucasfilm's visual effects division. There he joined the ILM model shop, where engineering met artistry. During the next 9 years, he contributed to dozens of high-profile films, combining circuit design with mechanical creativity to bring props and models to life. Among the films he worked on were The Lost World, Jurassic Park, Star Wars Episodes I, 2, and 3, The Matrix Reloaded and Revolutions, Terminator 3 Rise of the Machines, Van Helsing, and AI, Artificial Intelligence. One of the most iconic aspects of his ILM work involved the Star Wars prequel trilogy, where the original R2-D2 units from the late 1970s were now unreliable for modern film production. He became one of only 3 officially authorized operators of R2-D2 for Lucasfilm, alongside Don Bees and Nelson Hall. In the lead-up to The Phantom Menace, Grant led the rebuild of the droid. He addressed core issues that had plagued the original units: frequent stalling, overheated motors, and poor track mobility. He replaced the small wheels with larger ones better suited to the studio floors, rewired the power systems, and integrated an electric wheelchair motor for increased mobility and smoother control. Over time, his influence expanded. During filming of Attack of the Clones, he upgraded all 12 R2 units. He replaced the halogen-based dome lights with tiny LED arrays mounted on microcontrollers, giving more precise control over logic display lighting and improving reliability compared to the older bulky system. His familiarity with the droid hardware and radio systems meant that when R2-D2 malfunctioned during film shoots, producers reached out directly for his help. R2-D2 malfunctioned during film shoots? Producers reached out directly for his help. His expertise was trusted even when filming moved overseas, including shoots in London. Alongside that, his work on different projects showcased his ability to adapt engineering to creative storytelling. In 1999, he was credited as chief model maker on Galaxy Quest, leading the design of custom circuit boards to create realistic lighting effects on the starship's engines, including shimmering nacelles and flickering textures that gave the models cinematic presence. He had built a reputation for clean, reliable systems that behaved predictably on set and in camera. While working at ILM, he also got involved with more light-hearted yet culturally iconic builds. In 2008, Imahara was tasked with rebuilding the robotic Energizer Bunny for television adverts when the original handler had parted ways with the campaign. The assignment required creating multiple animatronic bunnies that could drum, wave, and move on cue. Each unit carried 44 added batteries and was fitted with control circuits for arm and ear movement, drumming action, and coordination between motion and audio commands. He also operated the bunnies during filming, ensuring performances matched the brand's famous "Keeps Going and Going" slogan. At the same time, he explored robotics in competitive and fan environments. In 2000, he built a combat robot named Deadblow, which he entered in Comedy Central's BattleBots. The robot featured a hammer mechanism that struck with high speed. It won 10 of its 17 matches, helping build Imahara's public profile as a creator in the robot combat scene. He also published a DIY book titled Kicking Bot, an illustrated guide to building combat robots, targeting hobbyists and students interested in building their own machines. His engineering charisma and television presence led to his being invited to join Mythbusters in 2005, replacing one of the original build team members. He joined co-hosts Carrie Byron and Tori Bellecci as the show's third build team engineer. The experiment-based format of Mythbusters mixed science, problem-solving, and spectacle. Grant was often referred to jokingly as the geek as the build team. Not an insult, but an acknowledgement of his formal training versus the more artistic backgrounds of his colleagues. Over 9 years, he appeared in more than 200 episodes, frequently constructing robots, operating electronics, and testing myths that demanded precision engineering. He was particularly valued for being the only presenter on the main team with a degree in engineering, which, as Adam Savage noted, instantly raised the technical standard of the experiments. In 2010, during his Mythbusters tenure, he was commissioned to design an animatronic sidekick for the Late Late Show with Craig Ferguson. Named Jeff Peterson, the robot skeleton featured remote-controlled arms and speech manipulated offstage by a puppeteer, while a voice actor provided dialogue transmitted through studio speakers. The design included 2 motors, batteries, and control boards that enabled arm movement and expressive gestures. The robot quickly became a fan favorite and remained part of the show for years. After departing Mythbusters in 2014, along with Kari Byron and Tori Bellecci, Grant later rejoined them in 2016 for White Rabbit Project on Netflix. The show tackled topics such as jailbreaks, superpower technology, heists, and bizarre weapons through experiments and builds. Despite positive reviews and chemistry among the trio, the show was cancelled after 1 season, reportedly due to budget overruns and format pacing issues. In 2017, he began consulting for Walt Disney Imagineering, working on a classified project known internally as Stickman towards a human-scale acrobatic robot. Imahara and the team developed Stuntronics, a new kind of audio animatronic that could perform acrobatic stunts like flips and mid-air adjustments autonomously. The technology involved advanced flight control, stabilization systems, and compact circuitry to mimic human movements. It debuted in Disney theme parks including California Adventure and represented a breakthrough in live performance robotics. Even outside major studios, his own personal projects remained impactful. In early 2020, he built a lifelike, fully animatronic Baby Yoda figure based on the character from The Mandalorian. Over about 3 months, he handled all mechanical design, programming, and 3D printing. He collaborated with a prop maker for the silicon skin and hair. The project was built not for commercial gain, but to bring joy to children's hospitals. He called himself a happiness maker and planned to take it on tour to seriously ill children. Grant Imahara joined the Mythbusters build team in 2005, stepping in to replace one of the original members. This transition marked a move from the backstage world of industrial light and magic into a role in front of the camera. He brought serious technical expertise to the show, often being referred to, sometimes jokingly, as the geek of the team. Unlike some of his colleagues, Grant held a formal electrical engineering degree from USC, and his presence quickly elevated the precision and approach of many experiments. Over the next 9 years, he appeared in more than 200 episodes. His role involved designing and building unique test rigs, robots, and specialized equipment to explore myths. His work grounded the show in practical, real-world engineering and mechanical judgment, even during the most theatrical experiments. Co-host Adam Savage remarked that Grant's formal training raised the bar immediately when he joined the team. Even the myths that seem outrageous were met with scientific rigor. One of the most notorious examples was the attempt to create a candle from melted earwax, inspired by a gag in the movie Shrek. The team collaborated with a physician to collect earwax from hundreds of patients. As Grant began heating the material, the dreadful aroma of infected wax became overwhelming. He described the smell as causing instant dry heaves and walked away from the set. He later called it the grossest thing he ever did, even though the rest of the team molded it into a candle that failed to burn. Other experiments sent him into genuinely risky territory. In a segment titled Flying Guillotine, themed around an old martial arts weapon, Grant nearly suffered a serious injury. He was working with a prototype blade launching device and accidentally triggered it when it was nearly fully armed. The blade sliced through his shirt, narrowly missing his body. He thereafter insisted on wearing a sturdy leather apron during any risky builds. He also had close calls in explosive tests. One large build involved firing powdered coffee creamer from an air cannon with flares for ignition. The resulting fireball was massive, like a cloud of flaming sugar, and drifted dangerously close to the cast and crew due to a sudden shift in wind. Grant recalled dodging hot smoke as the spectacle moved toward them. Many of Grant's personal projects from Mythbusters found new life beyond the show. His combat robot Dead Blow, originally built for BattleBots in 1999, became a recurring experiment tool on Mythbusters. The robot featured an air puppet hammer as a weapon and achieved a winning record with 10 victories in 17 matches. It was used on Mythbusters to test myths involving impact and robotics, including one sketch in which a remounted taxidermied cat was made to appear as a cat-like robot to test whether it could evade a guard dog. Grant's flair for inventiveness extended beyond Mythbusters. In 2010, he was commissioned to build an animatronic skeleton sidekick for late-night talk show host Craig Ferguson. Known as Jeff Peterson, the skeleton could move its arms and gesture expressively via remote control, and its lines were voiced live off-screen. The design included motors, batteries, and control boards, making the skeleton a memorable and enduring character on a popular TV show. It became a cult favorite and remained on the show for years. Even after Mythbusters concluded Grant's tenure in 2014, he continued collaborating with his former teammates Carly Byron and Tori Bellecci on another program. White Rabbit Project premiered on Netflix in late 2016 and covered 6 topics per episode, ranging from escape techniques to superpowers, heists, and unconventional weapons. The trio reused their chemistry from Mythbusters to bring science-based exploration to a streaming audience. Despite favorable reviews and fan enthusiasm, The show was cancelled after a single season, reportedly due to high costs and a fast-paced format that made production difficult to sustain fully. During the later 2010s, Grant moved into consultative and creative design roles, especially with Disney Imagineering. He joined a confidential project known as Stickman towards a human-scale acrobatic robot, which evolved into the Stuntronics series. The robotic stunt acrobats could perform flips, adjust mid-sleight, and land safely, directly mimicking human aerial stunt routines. These robots appeared in Disney theme parks, most notably in Avengers Campus at California Adventure. The project was a major technical breakthrough. Advanced motion control, high-speed stabilization, and precise aerodynamics, all controlled via compact circuitry. The robots are still used in live shows today and represent a new frontier in entertainment robotics. Investment in community and giving back was also central to Grant's later life. In early 2020, he spent roughly 3 months designing and building a fully animatronic Baby Yoda, Grogu, robot with the intention of visiting children's hospitals. He handled mechanical design, programming, and 3D printing entirely himself. A prop artist handled the silicone skin and hair, painstakingly applied one fiber at a time. He called himself a happiness maker and planned to bring the robot to sick children, offering comfort and delight where it was most needed. The project was deeply personal and non-permissible. His stated intent was to bring joy to kids facing illness. His capacity to move fluidly between high-profile television, serious engineering projects, fan-driven robotics, and charitable effect stands at the heart of Part 3. Mythbusters turned him into a familiar face, while still allowing space for serious experimentation. Every stunt, whether comedic or dangerous, was grounded in engineering thinking, calculations, safety measures, fail-safe. He demonstrated through his performances that engineering could be entertaining, meaningful, and even therapeutic. Grant continued building, teaching, and performing until suddenly falling ill in mid-July 2020. But by then he had already expanded his impact beyond screens, building robots like Dead Blow and Jeff Peterson, popularizing science on global television, collaborating with Disney, and creating one final project that was meant to heal rather than entertain. His Mythbusters years remain central to his legacy. He showed millions how to think critically, engineer diligently, and build creatively. In doing so, he inspired a generation of aspiring makers, engineers, and scientists. While infamous myths tested included earwax candles, airborne hammers, and sugar cannons, Grant's work added a credible ethos to every wacky experiment, underlined by safety, creativity, and precise problem-solving. His Mythbusters era defined his public identity and laid the foundation for everything he did afterward, from television to theme parks to acts of kindness through robotics. Grant Imahara's life came to a sudden and devastating end on July 13, 2020, when he was just 49 years old. That evening, he was having dinner at home in Los Angeles with his longtime fiancée, costume designer Jennifer Newman, when he began experiencing severe pain, dizziness, and weakness. Within minutes, his legs became numb and he became unresponsive. Paramedics were called and rushed him to the hospital, where doctors discovered a ruptured intracranial aneurysm. Despite 2 surgeries, he remained unconscious, and the medical team eventually determined that the damage was irreversible. Life support was withdrawn on the same day, bringing his life to an abrupt close. Turn 0 search 6. Turn 0 search 62. His passing sent shockwaves through multiple communities. Fans of Mythbusters, engineers, builders, scientists, creators, and general admirers of his joyous curiosity. The Discovery Channel and Science Channel responded by dedicating a 2-day marathon of his most memorable work, including renowned Mythbusters episodes, as well as related projects like RoboGames and the White Rabbit Project. It served as both tribute and final curtain call for a man whose career spanned film, television, robotics, and beyond. Turn 0 search 6. Grant Imahara's influence extended far beyond his media presence. As a Japanese-American engineer working in highly visible roles, he represented a rare bridge between STEM fields and mainstream entertainment, showing that Asian Americans could thrive on screen as engineers, creators, and public personalities. His presence helped inspire underrepresented youth to pursue technical disciplines and creative work with equal enthusiasm. And to turn zero Search 8, his personal life was grounded, supportive, and loving. He had been in a long-term relationship with Jennifer Newman since around 2011. They became engaged in 2016. Jennifer, his partner of nearly a decade, was by his side through his final moments. An intimate and heartbreaking detail that speaks to the depth of their connection. Before his death, Grant completed a deeply personal project, a fully animatronic Baby Yoda figure, modeled after the character known as Grogu. He built it from scratch over several months, handling the mechanical design, programming, and 3D printing himself. A prop artist later sculpted and painted the skin and provided every hair detail, applied one strand at a time. Grant intended to take the robot to hospitals to bring comfort to seriously ill children. This project embodied his self-described role as a happiness maker, combining technical skill and empathy in a final, heartfelt gesture. Turn Zero Search 6. After his death, his family, friends, and former colleagues launched the Grant Imahara STEAM Foundation on what would have been his 50th birthday, October 23, 2020. The foundation was created to continue his mission of empowering underserved youth to explore education and careers in science, technology, engineering, art, and mathematics. Grants, scholarships, unpaid internship funding, coding challenges, robo-battles, and mentorship programs form the core of its initiatives. It aims to remove barriers for students of all backgrounds and give them access to the kind of creative education Grant always championed. One specific example of the Foundation's mandate is its ongoing support of First Robotics Team 841 from Richmond High School in California, a team that Grant mentored during his time at ILM. Many of those same students then became mentors themselves, continuing the cycle he started. The Foundation seeks to replicate this model broadly, targeting historically marginalized communities to ensure that STEAM is accessible to all, not just a select few. In October 2021, the University of Southern California officially dedicated a new study lounge in the Ming Hsieh Institute of the Viterbi School of Engineering in Grant's honor. The ribbon-cutting ceremony featured his mother Carolyn and his former classmate Wade Bick. The space is meant to capture the spirit of innovation and creativity that he embodied at USC, making it a visible and inspiring meeting space for future engineers. The Viterbi K-12 STEM Center continues to receive funding through the Foundation, allowing it to expand computer science education for under-resourced schools in Southern California. In August 2021, an auction of over 80 props from Mythbusters, including many built by Grant, raised funds for the Foundation. Fans and collectors recognize these items not merely as memorabilia, but as artifacts created by a dedicated maker who poured his intellect and personality into each build. Turn Zero Search 6. Meanwhile, other organizations also chose to honor him. BattleBots renamed its Best Design Award to the Grant Imahara Award for Best Design. Never, in recognition of his contributions to combat robotics. In the world of fandom, Dungeon Master Matthew Mercer immortalized him through a Dungeons & Dragons character named Imahara Joe, described as a tinkerer who aids adventurers with mechanical devices. Mercer noted Grant as one of the most lovely people I have ever known. Friends, colleagues, and fans shared stories of his generous nature, humility, and humor. Adam Savage described him as kind, generous, and brilliant. His sense of camaraderie and supportiveness made him memorable not just for what he built, but how he treated those around him. All hallmarks of a legacy grounded in both precision and humanity. Even as interviews and tributes poured in, the theme remained consistent. Grant created joy for others, whether through groundbreaking theme park robots or late-night television sidekicks. He took his technical expertise and turned it outward, deliberately choosing projects that served, inspired, or excited others. In the final years of his life, his work felt increasingly purposeful. From building robots for Disney's Stuntronic shows, to developing his animatronic baby Yoda, to mentoring robotics students, his actions illustrated a continuing evolution, from showpiece builds to empathetic engineering. His creative and professional pursuits were unified by a desire to craft experiences that mattered, whether that meant testing a myth or cheering sick children. Grant Imahara's legacy remains active through education, inspiration, and tangible support for the next generation. Whether pursued at USC, in a high school robotics club, or through informal learning with tools and curiosity, his spirit lives on in those bold enough to take things apart and remake them better. His story is now entwined with a foundation that bears his name, a study space that bears his spirit, and awards and characters that keep his memory alive. At its heart, his final chapter is not defined by the aneurysm that took him, but by the foundations, institutions, and people continuing to spread what he believed in. Engineering with heart, creativity without limits, and opportunity for everyone. The world he shaped still hums with his tools, his robots, and his goodwill. In every new student guided, every piece of technology inspired, and every child comforted by that animatronic baby Yoda, Grant Imahara's legacy continues exactly as he meant it to, building brighter futures, one idea at a time.